In 2009, Bread of Life hosted a team of college and 20-somethings from Charleston, South Carolina. Like every team Bread of Life takes to Kenya or the Sudan, we taught each member how to evangelize to the unreached people groups. One day while we were there, we split up the team into different groups and sent them in different directions to go share the gospel of Jesus Christ. My team consisted of one other American and many Kenyans. And as we entered into a hut of a woman, we began sharing the gospel with her. About halfway through the presentation, an old man entered into the scene. We greeted him, he sat down, and we began sharing the gospel all over again. When we got to the end, we asked if any of them wanted to accept Christ, and the old man said he did. But he didn't want to pray there. He wanted to go to his hut, which was 2 miles away, and pray there. So we followed him, and as we got closer to his home, he stopped, began saying something to us, and began pointing over toward his left. We began looking around, trying to figure out what he was pointing at. We could see some rocks and a few trees and just a whole lot of sand. We were in the middle of the desert. We didn't know what he was pointing at. And as the translators began sharing his story, he was pointing at a pile of rocks, telling us that this was the gravesite of his infant son who had just recently passed away. He had died because he had no food and no water to sustain him. And in that moment, my heart broke. I was listening to the story of a man who had no future and no hope for his kids. We were there to give them the bread of life, Jesus Christ, and yet they were not surviving another day. I knew in that moment that God was challenging me to do something, to come back here to the United States, to share this story, and to challenge people to get a part of what's happening in Kenya, to do something, to partner with us to help transform communities, transform lives. Will you prayerfully consider partnering with us in Bread of Life? We believe that it's through your partnership that we will see water restored, lives healed, and hope given.